Jack and Ethan had been inseparable since childhood. Growing up in a small Midwestern town, the brothers had weathered every storm together. Parents who argued more than they laughed, financial hardships, and the trials of growing up in a place where dreams seemed to shrink rather than expand. Jack, the elder by 5 years, had always been Ethan's protector and guide. When Jack met Emily during his sophomore year of college, Ethan had been thrilled. Emily was everything Jack wasn't: vibrant, artistic, and full of energy that seemed to electrify every room she entered. Ethan, still in high school, idolized her almost as much as he did his brother. The three of them became a tight unit, and when Jack and Emily got married, Ethan was there as Jack's best man, his face beaming with pride. Years passed, and life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Jack worked long hours as an architect, putting in overtime to ensure he and Emily could afford their cozy suburban home. Emily pursued her dreams of becoming a writer, often spending her days immersed in drafts and edits. Ethan, meanwhile, bounced between jobs, never quite finding his footing, but he remained a constant presence in their lives. Jack didn't mind. He loved having his brother around. But the cracks in Jack's marriage to Emily had begun to show, even if he refused to see them. Jack was consumed by work, often coming home late and exhausted. Emily, feeling increasingly lonely, tried to tell Jack how she felt, but her words seemed to fall into an abyss of good intentions that never translated into action. Ethan, on the other hand, had time. He was charming, funny, and always there to listen. Emily found herself confiding in him more and more. At first, it was harmless. Conversations about her frustrations, her dreams, and the growing distance between her and Jack. Ethan, eager to help, assured her that Jack loved her deeply but didn't know how to show it. Yet, as weeks turned into months, their conversations grew more personal, the lines of propriety blurring until they were no longer just Emily and Jack's brother. They were Emily and Ethan. Jack first noticed something was off when he came home early one evening, hoping to surprise Emily with dinner and flowers. As he unlocked the door, he heard laughter coming from the living room. It was Emily's laugh, bright and unrestrained, a sound he hadn't heard directed at him in months. He froze when he saw her sitting on the couch, Ethan beside her, their shoulders touching.
"Jack,
"You're home early," Emily exclaimed, her voice tinged with surprise and something else Jack couldn't quite place. Jack shrugged off his unease, telling himself it was nothing. After all, Ethan had always been close to Emily. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Over the following weeks, he began noticing things he hadn't before. Emily's phone lighting up late at night with texts she dismissed as work, Ethan finding excuses to drop by more often, the way Emily seemed distant when Jack tried to engage her in conversation. The turning point came one weekend when Jack had planned a surprise getaway for him and Emily, hoping to rekindle their connection. When he told her, her response was lukewarm. "That sounds nice, Jack, but maybe we should reschedule. I've been so busy with my writing." Jack felt a pang of disappointment, but agreed. That night, unable to sleep, he wandered downstairs to grab a glass of water. Passing by Emily's office, he noticed the glow of her laptop screen. Peeking inside, he saw her video chatting with someone. His breath caught when he recognized Ethan's face on the screen. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. He didn't confront her then, too stunned to process what he had seen. Instead, he began piecing things together. The stolen glances, the hushed conversations, the way Ethan avoided his gaze when they were all in the same room. One evening, Jack decided to confront the truth. Pretending to have a late meeting at work, he left the house but parked his car a block away. Hours later, he saw Ethan's car pull into his driveway. Heart pounding, Jack let himself in quietly, his footsteps muffled on the carpeted floor. He found them in the living room, sitting too close, their hands intertwined. "What the hell is going on here?" Jack's voice sliced through the air like a whip. Emily and Ethan sprang apart, their faces pale. Emily stammered, "Jack, it's not what it looks like." "Don't insult me," Jack snapped, his anger barely contained. "How long?" Ethan looked down, unable to meet his brother's gaze. Emily, tears streaming down her face, whispered, "It wasn't supposed to happen. I was lonely, Jack. You were always at work, and I—" "Don't you dare blame this on me," Jack interrupted, his voice breaking. "You had a choice, Emily. Both of you did." The fallout was devastating. Jack left the house that night, unable to face either of them. He spent the next few weeks grappling with the betrayal, torn between anger, heartbreak, and the hollow ache of losing two of the most important people in his life. Emily begged for forgiveness, claiming it had been a mistake, a moment of weakness that spiraled out of control. Ethan, too, reached out, apologizing profusely and insisting he never meant to hurt Jack. But the damage was done. Jack decided he needed space to heal, to figure out who he was without Emily and Ethan. He filed for divorce and cut off contact with his brother. It wasn't an easy decision. The pain of losing both of them was almost unbearable. But Jack knew that staying in their orbit would only keep the wounds fresh. In the months that followed, Jack focused on rebuilding his life. He threw himself into his work, but he also made time for himself in ways he hadn't before. He joined a local hiking group, rediscovered his love for painting, and even began seeing a therapist to work through his emotions. It wasn't a quick or simple process, but slowly, Jack began to feel whole again. He learned to let go of the anger and resentment, not for Emily or Ethan's sake, but for his own. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant choosing not to let the past dictate his future. Years later, Jack heard through mutual friends that Emily had moved to another state and that Ethan was struggling to get his life together. Jack didn't reach out. He had made peace with his decision to leave them behind. Standing at the edge of a mountain trail one crisp autumn morning, Jack felt a sense of clarity he hadn't experienced in years. The betrayal had changed him, but it hadn't broken him. He had survived, and in surviving, he had found a strength he never knew he had. And that, he realized, was enough.